Garance Lequel is a journalist from Paris, from France. She's the one who tried for months to get in touch with Caesar, and she finally succeeded, and the result of it is a very moving book. You can buy the book if you want to have more information in any bookstore, also at the Haus der Katholischen Kirche around the corner. It's yours, Garance. Thank you very much.
Maybe this one is better. Is it? Oh, okay. This one is better. Okay, thank you very much for being here. Thank you, Tina, for what you did. And thank you for the organizer. Nobody else has been doing it. What Cesar and his group did, no one else has done before. Nobody has collected such shattering proof of crimes against humanity while the conflict is still going on. These pictures are unique. They depict cruelty, they depict visual evidences. These numerated bodies were men, children, and women. They were human beings just like you and me. One day, they dared to ask for freedom, engage in peaceful protest, or they just left home to buy breakfast, and they never came back. Arrested by one of the 4 security agencies of the Syrian regime, they have disappeared. These photographs show the victim and the executioners, yes, the executioners, because they can be recognized by the number of the intelligence branch where the prisoners have been detained, a number written on their body. What these pictures show is not only martyred bodies, they also tell the story of what is going on the dark of the Syrian regime's secret prisons, how the system operates, the methodology of the torture, the killing. In Syria, people are being arrested without an arrest warrant. You die of hunger, of thirst, of torture, from wounds that are not treated. You will have no funerals, and your family will not even know that you are dead. If they are being informed of your death, they cannot assemble to mourn your remains. They do not receive a death certificate. At the most, they are handed over documents that ascertain a heart attack, whereas your corpse shows signs of emaciation and torture. This is what Syria is about today. This is what the regime in Damascus is about. Ibrahim has told you about the work he and his group are undertaking today. They search for new documents, new testimonies, new witnesses. This work is essential and very complicated. Because torture is not there to make you speak or to make you confess. In contradiction to what one might think, torture is there to make you silent. This is evident because the confessions are forced confessions, very often false confessions. And the torturer is aware of that. The aim of the torture is to destroy your personality, to annihilate it, to devastate your uniqueness. When people beat you up, when you are forced to be naked, hungry, when you are stuffed together in overcrowded cells, when you are labeled with a number and have become nameless, you lose the notion of time and space. You are loathing yourself. It is as if you had disappeared, as if you were extinguished. In the Syrian detention center and prisons, there is a third time dimension between life and death. Torture torments you for a long time, not only physical torture, but also the torturous circumstance of the detention. Long after the torture itself, torture infiltrates your mind. When you are released, speech is almost impossible. Words are being said, of course, but what are they? What do they mean? What kind of truths do they tell? The more I work on this topic, being as a journalist, the more I am convinced that we will never fully measure the extent of their descent into hell. While listening to the survivor, an image comes to my mind, Many are no longer whole. It is as if they were just fragments, because there is a before the detention and after. Time is no longer linear. Before the detention, they kept their head up high, vertical, whole. After, they are floating, horizontal, broken. They have several memories. There is a memory of everyday life and the memory of the detention. And very often, it is impossible to bring the two together. This question of memory is essential. It is at the center of the fight of the regime against its own people. In June 2011 in Damascus, just 3 months after the beginning of the revolution, Yassin al-Haj Saleh, the doctor and intellectual, wrote, "A regime waging war against its own people will never succeed in fighting their memory." To be the keeper of one's own memory is to be able to tell one's own story, to deliver the truth and become master of oneself. The regime of Bashar al-Assad wants to reduce its citizens to simple objects, over which he has the right of life and death. The aim of the torture systems is to break the personality of a person and its community. They also target on communities. By releasing people from prisons, by the fact that they will describe a little bit what's going on inside, the regime creates collective fear. Its aim is to terrorize. Even after they have left their country, the fear remains with them. People in exile are in fear. You can feel it. For us, Europeans, this fear sometimes is incomprehensible. But we have to be aware that the regime in Damascus is in control of the families left behind. The member of the Syrian security services can arrest their cousin, uncle, mother. The regime is attempting to silence its people. It wants to bury the memory, the individual and the collective memory. It wants to destroy dreams, human beings, and stones. One can draw a parallel between the trauma inflicted to the detainees and the trauma inflicted to the whole society, between the tortured bodies and the destroyed neighborhood, between the expelled corpses of the prisoners and the enforced displacement of the civilians. The family are scarred as if they were not whole anymore. Today, the Syrian society is a fragmented entity. This is the great success of the regime, to have made humanity invisible, the individual, the uniqueness. What is left is the geopolitical view of the conflict. The César file is fighting against that. The photos were stolen from the regime to enable the voice of the detainees to be heard, to bring justice to these human beings, these bodies labeled with numbers, men without names. César and Sami did it for their families, so that they know that they have died, that they can escape the pain of not knowing where is the one they love, the one with whom they have lost, quarreled, shared the meal, their life. The César Files group is also striving to bring the criminal to court, so that one day the victim will be identified and the criminals will be identified. International law exists, but it is violated by the games of diplomacy, the rule of the strongest, and the great powers. Being a member of the United Nations Security Council, Bashar al-Assad's ally, Russia, has vetoed a resolution condemning the Syrian regime or asking for a referral to the ICC, the International Criminal Court, in Den Haag. Since international jurisdiction is paralyzed, justice has to be administered through national jurisdiction. Here in Germany, but also in France, in Spain, in Sweden, in Norway, in Austria, in USA, Western and Syrian lawyers are building cases against the regime's leaders. Because it's impossible to work on the ground in Syria, they investigate thanks to the incredible documentation of the Syrians since the beginning of the revolution. endless list of civilians killed, arrested or missing, reports on the approach of the intelligence services, reports on the condition of detention and torture on a large scale. And of course, the Caesar file. At the beginning of June, thanks to the criminal charge filed here in Germany, the federal prosecutor, the German Generalbundesanwalt, has issued an arrest warrant against Jamil Hassan, the head of the Air Force intelligence in Syria. It's a first step to identify the culprits. It's an historic moment. And the fact that it's happened here in Germany contains great symbolism. But the Syrian struggle for justice will take time, a lot of time. Words like reconstructions are being heard. Dialogue, diplomacy, great progress. Syria is at the verge of disappearing from the television screens, newspaper, web pages. Because of the general fatigue, the lack of new images or testimonies of this fear that haunts civilians at the regime organs' territories. And of course, one can look away. One can refuse to look at a country and be convinced that what's happened there is incomprehensible and inhuman. Not see the human beings anymore. But we are the ones that we do not see anymore. That is what we have to understand. What is happening in Syria is not a Syrian conflict. It's the future of the humanity. When you look at the photograph, you will first see barbarism, dry blood, signs of torture. You will feel the urge to look away, then look again, this time with gentleness, and you will see human beings.